Live from virtual Bark River, Michigan, we welcome race fans one and all to the Bark River International Circuit, where tonight we get set to go racing for a new series. It's the Racecraft Off-Road Pro 2 Championship, and tonight it is, of course, a season opener. We've got 4 races ahead of you. Yes, count them 4. 2 races in the fixed series and 2 in the open, and it's bound to be one exciting night full of action from Bark River International Speedway. Welcome to Racecraft TV. My name is Ola Rempel with Zach Johnson behind the production chair tonight, and together we'll be bringing you all of the action here tonight from flag to flag as we get set to go racing for, again, what should be a fun night of Lucas Oil Off-Road Pro 2 racing action for the Bark River International Raceway. It is, of course, going to be a packed schedule. You've got 4 races coming on up all throughout the next little while. We started off here tonight on May 3rd at Bark River. We swing it out to the Wild West Motorsports Park on May 10th. May 17th holds Wild Horse Pass before we wrap it all up at Crandon on May 24th for a 4-race championship, and it is going to be 2 motos for each of the fixed and open series per event, and that means we're all going to be in for what should be a phenomenal show and a phenomenal season of racing. The Pro 2s have commonly been referred to as some of the premier off-road road racing series, and I can tell you right now, these trucks are a handful. Not easy at all to control, and I can tell you that these drivers are going to have to work with everything they got to see if they can't keep these trucks planted underneath them. With a 4-race schedule ahead of us, the event format for tonight is as follows. We started off with 8 minutes of qualifying, solo qualifying. Of course, the top 3 from this qualifying session are inverted for a 10-lap race from Moto number 1. From there, we invert the top 3 from that race from Moto number 2 in the fixed series. Then we do it all over again for race number 2, which will be, of course, in the open series coming on up later on tonight. So far, all but one driver have put times down in qualifying with about 15 seconds left on the clock. The only driver that has not put down a time, it was the likes of Solomon Borschinger, and he has just put down his qualifying run this time around with the 1:18.690, but it's not even close to the pole time of Cameron McChesick, and we will get to your starting grid here as qualifying comes to a close. And we'll bring up your starting grid for how things will line up for Moto number 1 here tonight in a 15-truck field, with the guys going to be looking to take a pace lap around, of course, before we get things rolling. They'll be lining it up on the back straightaway just after turn number 3 and shy of turn 4. They'll be moving through the more technical, twisty sections of the race course a little bit deeper on into this race tonight. And starting on that pole position with a 1:16.367 here, going to be the likes of Cody Winiecki. Of course, he qualified in 3rd. He starts on pole, though, with that top 3 invert. Drake Matog was the driver to put down a 1:16.217, second in qualifying, starts 2nd on the qualifying run. Cameron McChesick, he is a 1:16.145. He was the fastest driver in qualifying, but he'll be starting in 3rd alongside Jordan Johnson on road number 2. Row 3 will hold the likes of Crystal King and Keenan Kusan. Trevor Teal and Cohen Attard going to be back on road number 4. The top 10 rounded out by Christina Ryan and Miles Morse. 11th place holds Alexander Good and Edward Farnes on row number 6. Row 7 holds Solomon Borschinger and Kyle Knott, with Tyler Lugo Vickery rounding out a 15-truck field for your opening moto then here tonight. Just waiting on the 4th place driver now to grid on up. That would be the likes of Jordan Johnson. He's going to get himself gridded up now. And these 15 trucks are going to get sent to roll off for their, well, not even a full pace lap, but sort of a half pace lap here from the Bark River International Raceway. It's a pretty big spread up and down throughout the field. It was, again, a 1:16.1 for the pole time that saw him start 3rd. Kyle Knott, a 1:18.946. That's almost a good 3 seconds out. Of course, you have Lugo Vickery way at the back, a 1:22. So I have a feeling that the driver of the number 24 machine not pushing as hard as he could have on his laps. Want to quickly shout out Next Level Racing and Pimax, along with Apex Gaming PCs, for partnering up here with Racecraft TV for the Racecraft Off-Road Championship. Pace truck going to pull down, and into pit road we will enter the restart zone. It is now in the hands of that 903. Jumps on the loud pedal And we are underway for Moto number 1 as the field dives down into what is the opening corner. It's sliding out in the background, 3 wide, drivers banging around against one another. You can take a beating though in these off-road machinery over the small bit of whoops as we rock it around through turn number 12, and more contact at the tail of the field, and officially green flag will fly. Drake Batog will start his official first time lap of this race here in this one truck way off the grass and up against the starter stand. Kyle Knott having a bad way at the tail of the field. He'll be dropping so far down while the rest of the field has hightailed him down towards that turn number 2, back off to where we started our pace lap just a few seconds ago. Drake Batog and Winiecki on a 2-truck breakaway up at the front of the field. Crashing back down to earth is Winiecki trying to keep nice and tight with hostile off-road wheels, number 18. Slinging up through turn 7. Just past the restart zone. Taking the jump down to 8, right where pit exit, and so far, Drake Batog on a great opening run for his race as he gets set to lead the opening lap of 10. Further behind, the fight for third is on as Cameron McJessic trying to catch up to Crystal King in the fight for third. Batog will lead the first lap to green. As over the start-finish line jump and then slinging it back in over turn number 1. A very blind left-hand sweeper up and over a kink. It's definitely a corner where it's very easy to run into drivers if they're stopped sideways on the race course, but luckily it's been a very clean start so far to tonight's opening moto here in the Racecraft Off-Road Pro 2 Championship. Crystal King continues to hang on to third as we slam on the brakes for 6th. Side by side for the race lead. Winiecki trying to take it high and wide around the outside at turn 7. Drake Batog trying to fend him off. The 18 just pulls clear, but the 903 hot on his heels trying to go for the race lead. Jumping on the brakes, going for a switch back into turn number 6, but it's going to be, going into turn 9. It's going to be advantage though. Back to Batog on the exit of turn 10, over the whoops through 11, and back across the start-finish jump. Drake Batog continues to hang on. The 903 of Cody Winiecki, though, not looking to give this one up anytime soon. This is going to be one of those fights that's going to go right down to the wire. This 15-truck field started to spread out around the Bark River International Racing Circuit. Got Batog and Winiecki in their fight for first and second. Then, of course, Cameron McJessic and Crystal King in the fight for third. Apart from that, is just about follow the leader everywhere else on the race course. And now Batog started to stretch his lead, builds it up just briefly to about a second. He tries to break clear of that 903. That second runner-up position. Popping on the brakes for a 180-degree sweeper at turn 9, and then a very sharp kink at turn 10. You can see drivers get it as far onto the grass berm on the right-hand side as they possibly could to try to avoid losing time over the whoops. That allows them to set themselves up excellently for that start-finish jump. Taking as wide a line as possible down for turn 1. Some big air will send Batog a little wide in 2, but he's able to diamond it back for 3. And Batog continues to lead the way in moto number 1. It is Batog from Winiecki, from McJessic, from King, from Johnson for the top 5. Looking a bit further down in the field, I'm seeing Trevor Teal and Cohen Attard in the fight for 8 started to pick up as they just went over the turn 5 jump right around turn number 6, the 131, trying to close up to the 72. to make moves further inside the top 10. Konatard taking a much wider line, trying to find some extra speed on corner exit, while Trevor Teal is be keeping that truck very much pinned right up against the inside curb, but you see as he again clips the berm. Makes it very easy to kind of track that Nitro Circus machine wide. But so far, Konatard has had nothing for that 72 machine as he gets a bit unsettled on the straight between the 10 and 11. But not unsettled enough for Tard to be able to properly close in. This battle for 8 starts to taper off. Cameron McCheswick has broken clear of Crystal King, and now he's starting to apply some pressure to the 903 just up the road. Your top 3 still running line astern as we get set to end out the first half of our opening moto of the night. Keeping it pinned to the inside before Winiecki in the 903 overturns 7. Cameron McCheswick looking like he wants to join the party. Winiecki went for a move, but went a bit too wide, then got unsettled as a result. And now the 903 going to lose touch to Drake's Hostile Off-Road Wheels, number 18, just up the road. I think the pressure for the 253 starting to get to Winiecki here as we'll throttle back up and overturn. What a clip of the inside berm for Winiecki. Got to be careful doing that. How many times we've seen trucks take too much and send themselves barrel rolling off the side of the circuit. We are halfway home, 5 down, 5 to go. Cheswick still runs behind, and at this point, he's going to have to be trying to find other ways to see if he can make a move. He might have to get desperate here and go for a Hail Mary down to one of these tighter corners, maybe at turn 9, if he could set something up through 8. Not close enough this time through. The top 3 going to swing left, but it's closer than ever in the fight for the race lead. Winiecki looking for a tighter line through 10, tried to make the move. Wasn't there, though, and now on board with McCheswick as he's got a good drive, but he's too sideways, crosses himself up with the exit of 11, and that's going to kill his momentum across the start-finish jump. McCheswick's getting impatient here, trying to make a move on Winiecki up the road. This fight for the top 3 will continue to rage on as we get set to close out our first race in the Racecraft Off-Road Pro 2 Championship. Cheswick trying to close up into turn 9 again, but still Winiecki fending him off. Tell you what, that 903's got a great defensive drive going, taking as much racetrack as he can around through turn 10, while still doing a good job on keeping that speed up as well. 3 laps to go. Top 3 continue to kind of ebb and flow in their little gap. And now you can see McCheswick starting to drop back as Winiecki again tries to close up in that fight for the race lead. Still, this trio here, this leading trio, is the closest grouping of trucks that we have on the racetrack as it stands. we've got problems a bit deeper in the field. That was Jordan Johnson that we just saw rejoining the race course, and I believe he actually went up and over down at turn 5. And in fact, he did. So the number 12 truck with a huge roll, just like we were mentioning earlier, took too much berm off of the inside of 5, and that's what sent him up and over. Of course, these trucks can take a roll or two. They'll get himself rolling again as McChesney looks for the inside. Riniecki's into the wall, too deep, into turn 10, and now McChesney down the inside of 11. Out through 12, across the start-finish jump, 2 to go, side by side of a turn 1. McChesney takes it high and wide. Cameron McChesney saw the door open up in the fight for second and took that lead away, or took that spot away with force as Cody Winiecki will now have to battle back to see if he can't retake that spot in about the lap and a half or so that we've got left. At this point, I think Drake Matog's too far ahead for any of these drivers to do anything about it. This is going to be a fight for second. Across the jump between 7 and 8 into the last small segment of corners. It's the 903 of Cody Winiecki, still trying to take that spot back after a mistake in this corner right here, turn 10. Too much of the grassy berm got up and into the outside fencing. It'll be white flag this time by for Drake Matog. As we hit the final lap in Moto 1, it will be a total of 4, 1 of 2 in your fixed championship here tonight. Matog continues to pull clear while McChesney still running defensive for that second spot. And at this point, Winiecki dropping back, don't think he'll have anything for the 253. But one mistake into one of these corners could very well see Winiecki get that spot back and to try to go for it into turn 7. No room. McChesney slams the door shut. Try as he might, Winiecki has about one more attempt here as we rip around turn number 9. Drake Matog across the whoops for the final time between 10 and 11. He'll cross 11 and 12. Drake Matog wins the opening moto in the Racecraft Off-Road Pro 2 Championship in the fixed class. And McChesney hangs on for second with Winiecki falling back to third. What a fight, though, for those last podium positions there in the dying laps of this race. Still waiting on a few stray trucks to come across the start-finish line before we can get to your official post-race results here of our opening moto, and I believe we'll be able to get to those now. As taking the race win, it is Drake Matog in the opening moto. He'll be starting third in Moto 2. I believe we're still potentially even waiting on still one more. There is still one more truck throwing his way around, just diving down into turn number 9. That would be the likes of Tyler Lugo Vickery. But we'll get to the results now on this one, as for the most part, it is all official. Again, Matog the winner, McChesney second, Winiecki third. They will invert for Moto 2. Crystal King picks it up in fourth with Keenan Kuzin. Good 7 seconds back from there to round out the top 5. Miles Morris will be in 6th with Trevor Teal in 7th. Cohen Attard in 8th. Jordan Johnson and Solomon Borschinger are going to be back in 9th and 10th. And then back in that 11th spot, going to be the likes of Christina Ryan with Alexander Good and Tyler Lugo Vickery. Over a minute back. Kyle Knott was ejected from the event. Unsure the reasoning for that one, but he finds himself about 6 laps down as a result. And Edward Farnes had technical problems, which is why we see him finishing 7 laps down to this one as well. So what a good run for us on this one. That was it was a good 10 laps, and there's still going to be a lot more to play for. We've got about a 3-minute break before we get into Moto number 2, where same as before, 10 laps. Top 3 will be inverted. Drivers are able to get some last-minute practice in on this one. It's worth noting that the fixed and open championships, they do have 2 different grids, as I believe the ruling was. You can't run in one and the other. You have to pick one or the other, which is why the grid might be a little bit smaller here in your fixed championship. I think we're going to have a whole different field of drivers running in that open class a little bit later on tonight for Motos 3 and 4 once we get into that. But for now, we got a minute and a half left in qualifying, and I don't think it's understated just how much wheel work goes into these Pro 2 light machines. So, tell you what, we're watching Alexander Good practice right now. We got about enough time for one lap. Why don't we take a ride on board for this last minute or so, and we'll show you kind of what a lap around the Bark River International Raceway looks like. Taking a bit too much burn there in turn number 4. It was the berm on the inside, though, of that 4th corner where we saw one truck go up and over, and that was the number 12. That was earlier on, of course. Jordan Johnson touched in briefly on him. He had started 4th in Moto 1. He did finish on the lead lap, only 21 seconds, so he didn't lose a lot of time as a result of that flip, but he did finish way back on that 9th spot, and that's not going to be a good starting position for Moto number 2. As the checkered flag will fly, we will take a rundown of, again, your starting grid for Moto 2 then of tonight's Racecraft Off-Road Pro 2 Championship in the fixed class, where it is 3rd place finisher Cody Winiecki to start on pole alongside Cameron McCheswick on that front row. The first Moto winner, Drake Matog, back in 3rd, and I'm willing to bet we're going to be seeing Matog again punching his way to the front here in quick fashion. Crystal King lines it up beside him on row number 2. Keenan Cousin's going to be on row 3 with Miles Morse beside him in that 6th position. Row 4 holds Trevor Teal and Cohen Attard. Rounding out the top 10 on row 5, going to be Jordan Johnson and Solomon Borschinger. Row 6 holds Christina Ryan and Alexander Good. Way in the back, it's Tyler Lugo-Vickery, finished over a minute behind the Moto winner in Moto number 1. He'll be alongside Kyle Knott and Edward Farnes, though I'm not expecting we're going to be see either Knott or Farnes on the starting grid. In fact, we will not. So we've gone from 15 to 13 for the second Moto then of the evening. It's a pretty cool temperatures out there at the moment, 74 degrees Fahrenheit, but some calm winds as well. That's, of course, great for these trucks, given how much they love to take flight. Into the restart zone. And an early launch again for Winiecki leads us to green as we're underway in Moto number 2. Cameron McCheswick trying to throw it on the inside. Contact between himself and Matog. Here comes Crystal King for 3rd, alongside the fight for 3rd place into turn 10. Oh, Matog's gone too deep. He had to cut the corner a bit early, and as a result, got himself unsettled. We're almost side by side for first, though, between Winiecki and Cameron McCheswick, as we're single file across the start finish line jump. Lap 1 officially underway. field still tightly packed together as we go up and over the rise between turns 5 and 6. Winiecki still hanging on to the race lead, but how about Crystal King? Picking it up for third after finishing 3.5 seconds behind the moto winner. Dre Batagda wants to find a way through. He's going to nudge Crystal King up and out of the way, but won't be able to secure the pass as King hangs on. Dre Batagda getting aggressive, and he's had to kind of pump the e-brake there a little bit as he kicked that back end out and then got it accidentally straightened up. Here comes Keenan Kuzin trying to make the run for fourth. That run going to end up going nowhere for the 0-3. It's back over the rise. It was Winiecki to officially lead the opening lap to green. Winiecki continues to lead the way up at the front of the train. Right behind McChesick. Finished second in Moto 2, finished second in Moto 1, run second in Moto 2. Oh, one up and over in the background. That's Borschinger in the 91 truck that we just saw take a tumble. And that was a big ride as well through turns 4 and 5. Want to see if we can't possibly get a replay on that. If we can, I think we'll have it for you here. Watch this one as he takes too much berm out of turn 4. Jumps over the grass bumps on the inside of 5. That kicks the truck up and over, and it was a wild barrel roll. At least 6 or 7 flips there, and he'll land on his roof. Down on turn 5 on that uphill stretch. So that sees us down to 12 trucks. As Borschinger's day will come to a flying end. Winiecki continues to lead the way up in front with McChesick running second, King third. And interestingly enough, Drake Matog, the driver that won the opening moto, has not had any pace so far, running back in that 4th position. Remember, these are fixed setups these drivers are using, so it's a lot more on driver ability than on setup ability. And I think at the moment we're seeing just how evenly matched a lot of this field is. We've had another incident as Drake Matog down and out of the race in a big way. You can see him stuck in a pole on the outside of turn 7, I believe that is. As Matog's had a huge off, so your Moto 1 winner out of the fight. Watch this one here as he jumps over the whoops into 7. He just goes straight on into the corner. The truck never turned. And that's going to effectively end Matog's race as that engine blows. Oh, contact for second as look out. McChesick sideways. Crystal King down the inside to turn 2. Jumps over the front bumper. Cutting back to the inside as the 253. And the battle for second is on. Crystal King contact again from the outside of turn 3. Back over the jumps and down to turn 4. Cameron McChesick bullies his way back through to the 2nd spot. But goodness gracious, that got tight for a hot minute, and we just about lost another 2. The racing never stops at the Bark River International Raceway. As Crystal King, I imagine, going to be fuming with that, trying to get back to Cameron McChesick. You saw the lunge, the Hail Mary. And that's going to send the 278 a bit crossed up on the exit of 9. And look out, Keenan Kuzin was running 5th. Now because Matog out of the race, the 03 starting to close in. He wants to go after a podium. Whoa, but Kuzin too wide off the circuit on the left-hand side. Truck straightened up midair, and that caused the 03 to go straight on. it looks like finally we'll be able to settle down and breathe for a minute. Our second moto of the night. Crystal King, Keenan Kusin locked in that fight for third and fourth. They're both closing in on Cameron McCheswick again, while Cody Winiecki has been starting to extend the gap way up in front. That gap now well up to almost 3 seconds. It's all a fight for that second spot now as we see Winiecki way out in front. There's no competition with an 903 at the moment. Even that three-way scrap for second. Bit deeper in the pack, there's also a Miles Morris and Cohen Attar. They're about the same distance that fourth and third are at the moment. That's the fight for fifth, right behind these guys. You see going over the jumps just a little ways behind. And for the 73 and the 131, it's been a fairly calm race for them so far as well. They haven't had too much to write home about, but they've been slowly trying to reel in fourth, third, and second. They are starting to make a bit of progress here, and it's only going to take a little bit of side-by-side action, that fight for second place, before we see fifth, sixth, and back reel your top runners right back in. We were halfway home last time by with 5 to go. It'll be 4 to go this time by come start-finish line. Trevor Teal starting to see if he can't get a bit closer to Cohen Atard as well in that sixth spot, but he gets unsettled over the turn 10, 11 whoops, and that's going to cause him to lose some time and drop a bit further down to the tail end. I think at this point, drivers are kind of locked into a waiting game. Everybody's just kind of running their lines and seeing if anybody's going to make any sort of mistake up here. Nobody's looking to do anything terribly desperate just yet. I say that as Teal has to run wide, entering sixth to avoid running into the back end of Cohen Atard. And they're going to make contact as Atard going to be pushed out wide. Trevor Teal trying to throw it in. He's going to back off, though, and allow the 131 to retain that position. So the Australian native cut a bit of a break there on that one as Teal gonna have to try to set that one up all over again, but now with only 3 laps left to do so. Three laps to go, just under 3 laps to go at this point in our second moto of the night. The 72 and the 131 continuing to do battle as the closest pairing of any 2 trucks on the race course. Teal taking some experimental lines as well, running through 6 and 7. Seem to be can't close up the back bumper there of Cohen Atard. The 131 going to continue to hold strong. Meanwhile, that fight for, oh, hang on. Oh, thought maybe Teal would go for it. Thought about it. He's going to get crossed up though through 9. I don't think he's going to be able to do anything down to 10. And no, he will not, as Atard able to hang the momentum around that outside. Still a lot to play for, even up at the front of the field. The fight for third has gone so far nowhere. But the gaps are still ever present with 2 laps left to go. Keenan Kusin still has a chance to get around Kane to score podium position here in your second and final race of the fixed class tonight. Jumping down on the binders for turn 6. He'll work to 7. And we'll go side by side as Kuzin opens up the door and Crystal King slams it back shut. Crystal King, I think, will extend that gap up for third, and that might be it then for the fight for that third spot. But we do still have 1 lap to go. Winiecki will take up the white flag, but Kuzin getting unsettled out of turn 10. We'll see that battle for third dissipate as Winiecki 3 seconds clear up the road. Looks like all of our other battles have been all but sorted so far on the race course as well. So this is just going to be almost a formality lap for this last one. If there's anything that watching off-road racing has taught me, it's that it's never quite over until it's over. You can always mess up at one of the most inopportune points. You take too much burn by being caught lacking. Winiecki dives across the restart zone, down for turn number 9. Winiecki finished in third after starting on pole in the opening moto, but will come home and take up a race win, gets up into the outside wall, but it's not going to matter. Tony Winiecki wins moto number 2 from Bark River. What a fight there that we had for several drivers in this field. We still got some more coming to the line. Cohen Attard trying to fend off Alexander Good in the fight for 7th. And will do so as he'll cross the start-finish line to secure a 7th position. We're going to take a look at a replay here. Something that happened to Alexander Good. This is getting up. Whoa! Got into the back end of the 70... or the 131 there, and in fact, even saw kind of lifted out and actually gave the spot back, so I'll give credit. That's some good sportsmanship there from Alexander Good. Recognized the mistake and allowed for Attard to maintain that run. That's always good to see. You'll love to see stuff like that on the race course. We'll take a look at your official post-race results at the end of this one, as it was Cody Winiecki taking up a race win for moto number 2. Cameron McChesney going to be back in second spot, 2.5 seconds down the road. Crystal King will round out the podium, with Keenan Kuzin picking up 4th. Miles Morris was in 5th. Trevin Teal kind of in no man's land back in 6th. Cohen Attard and Alexander Good had a fight to the line for 7th and 8th. Christina Ryan was back in 9th. Tyler Lugo-Vickery rounds his way out to the top 10. Solomon Borschinger going to be finishing this race down in the 11th spot, 1 lap down. Jordan Johnson finishes 2 down. Drake Matag crashed out of this race early. He finds himself 13 laps down. Kyle Knott and Edward Farnes did not start this race. And that is going to be a wrap then on our fixed class here tonight from the Racecraft Off-Road Pro Championship. We've still got 2. We've still got 2 more motos coming on up for us here in this one. And it's going to be for our Open Championship. Doesn't look like we got any drivers willing to talk to us here at the end of our fixed class. We'll see if there'll be any by the time we get back. But for now, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. You're watching, of course, the Racecraft Off-Road Pro 2 Championship from Bark River International Raceway.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the virtual Bark River International Raceway. We are returning for the open class and our final two motos of the night as we get set to go back racing in the Racecraft Off-Road Pro 2 Championship. We've had a thrilling opening two motos in our fixed championship earlier on tonight. We had a 15-truck field down there. It is going to be 17 in our open class, which obviously I kind of figured we'd be having more in the open class. It tends to be a little bit more popular than the fixed classes when it comes to running off-road races kind of in general, this one due to the vastly different driving styles that everybody's going to have. And we will, in just a moment, get your official starting grid up for this one as, again, top three inverted from qualifying, and it'll also be top three inverted from this opening heat as well. Josh Edmondson and Connor Berry going to be up on pole position with Keaton Sween and Jacob Rafos back on row number 2. Christopher Plumley and Anthony James going to be back on row number 3 with Greg Johnson and Zachary Drapkin on row 4. Daniel Aish and Tyson Miller going to round out the top 10 on row number 5. Row 6 holds Sean Winkler and Nathan Metexon. It is Tyler Vanderbush back on row number 8 with Paul Mikolajczyk back in that 14th spot. Nick Nowak and Mike Budzian back in 14th and 15th with Mike Budzian and James Burke to round out the last of our 17-truck field here in this one. And, of course, with that top three inverter, that means that while Edmondson set the fastest lap in qualifying of a 1:14.625, he's going to be finding himself up on that pole position. Sorry, he set the third fastest time, so that's a pole position. Keaton Swain, the fastest driver in qualifying, a 14.229. Relegated back to that third spot. Once again, just waiting on one last driver to grid up. It is our second place starter, Connor Berry. Sorry, it's actually our pole sitter, Josh Edmondson, that we're waiting on. Is Edmondson going to get gridded up now? And we will go back to racing here at virtual Bark River International Raceway. The opening few corners have been something, to say the very least, in our fixed championships so far. In this one, we'll see if the same will ring true in our open classes. Still waiting on when we're going to be getting things rolling here in our opening heat. Or opening moto, I should say. Everybody's gridded on up, so we're waiting to kind of get things sorted. Well, I guess while we're here, I want to once again shout out some of the partners here for Racecraft TV and, of course, the Off-Road Pro 2 Championship. Of course, Next Level Racing, Pimax VR, and Apex Gaming PCs. You can use code Racecraft to save up to $250 on your Apex Gaming PC. Partner link, of course, in the description, along with Pimax VR. For that, you can use code JE58 for a discount on your next Pimax VR purchase. Field's getting set to roll, and we'll go down across turns 5 and 6. Restart zone sits between 7 and 8. And official lap timing starts. Of course, at the traditional start-finish jump. Out of turn 7. Pace truck pulls down to pit road. And Josh Edmondson leads us to green. Side by side still, here comes Keaton Sween, making the move for second, down the inside, contact with the 2, 3 wide. Jacob Rafos makes the lunge for 3. It's 3 wide, 4 wide in the back. The field accordion up at the tail end, 1 into the wall, that's Rafos again. Swinging out wide, green flag officially flies. As Edmondson leads us somehow for the opening lap. While further back in the field, they are still side by side over the start-finish jump, and what a way to start things off. We got one truck going around to the back of the shot. That's going to be the likes of Daniel Asian. We got one up and over. Budsian taking a ride in the 524 just up the road as he clipped Asian James Burke. 2 trucks destroyed early in our opening moto in your open class, while up in front, Edmondson pulling clear of the field. Keaton Sween, right tucked behind. Take a look at the Racecraft TV replay. Take a look at this one as Daniel Aish went sideways. And this is the truck that got up and over, went up on his side, and took a wild ride around turn 2. See all the beating and banging that was going on at the tail of the shot. This was how Aish got sent around altogether. It was just unsettled over some of the whoops and backed that thing into the wall. Nearly rolled it himself, got in a Burke, and that was all she wrote. Lap 1 officially in the books as Josh Edmondson leading the way for this field. Keaton Sween fighting it out for second with Connor Berry and Christopher Plumpley back and forth, trying to push up into a podium. Well, Connor Berry up and over the rise, slams back down to earth as we jump on the brakes again for turn 6. Connor Berry looking to make something happen here. Bit further down the field as well. How about this for side-by-side? That was Greg Johnson making the move on Anthony James as James has dropped 2 positions. Might lose 3. Sean Winkler trying to bully the 217 out of the way. 3 wide from 9 to 10. And the 720 getting shoved out wide. Here comes Zachary Dropkin into the mix of the 56. Again, Anthony James touring these drivers. He is all over the shot. Anthony James is gone from 5th at the start of the lap way back to 9th. 4 spots lost in the span of a lap, and he's now making friends out there with how much pushing and shoving he's doing out there. As here comes Taylor Vanderbush down the inside. He makes the lunge, and is again contact, sends Vanderbush wide. Open up the door for Nathan Medixon to get down the inside into turn 4. Line astern, back over the turn 5 jump, but here comes Medixon looking to make some more moves. He's going to go down the inside of turn 6, gets into the side of Miller, and that's going to push him up and over the berm. Doesn't go over, but he's going to lose a handful of time. That was getting a bit too greedy early on there. Side by side between Mikolajczyk and Vanderbush, the 89 and the 177 exchanging hands. Back over the start-finish jump. Or the restart jump, I should say, as Vanderbush trying to close Mikolajczyk again, gets into the side of him. But remember, these trucks, this is what they're meant for. They're meant to take a beating. Robbins racing on the dirt, and there's going to be a lot of that tonight. Side by side with turn number 1. Vanderbush clipping the berm on the right-hand side. Again, side by side through turn 2. Vanderbush forced to back out. Going to try to go for the switch back into 3. And how's that for a beautiful crossover from the 89? That's going to give him an optimal line for turn 4. But that's not going to last as it goes back the way of Ecologic for 5, but it's not going to matter. Vanderbush is cleared. What a fight there that we have from about 6th on back. The spot's just outside the top 10. And it's not going away anytime soon as Ecologic still looking to make aggressive moves. Almost mid-air contact that time through between 7th and 8th. Ecologic back to the inside of Taylor Vanderbush. Going to be forced to back out on the exit of 9. I think finally Vanderbush will be able to fend off for the 11th position, while more contact sends Nick Nowak way down the field. Got a drill by Daniel Aish. That's going to finally split up some of the battles deeper down the field, and that means we can finally focus on the fight for 3rd between Christopher Plumley and Connor Berry. These guys have been very orderly up in front, and they've been able to pull away a big way from the rest of the field behind. As, whoa, Plumley taking as much berm as he can, trying to use it to turn that 36 Legion Motorsports truck a little bit more. So far, Connor Berry, the CBR machine, continuing to hold strong in that last podium position. They're right up behind the Factory SimSport Appliance Parts Company, number 21 of Keaton Swain. And it looks like finally things will separate, as it only took halfway through our first heat before we could finally take a breath. Up and over the rise still for Barry as he tries to run down the number 21, but you can tell that the gaps have grown exponentially from just the last lap. As the battle for a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th begins to steadily taper off. Sean Winkler and Anthony James, though, fighting for 8th. They're right up with each other here, and it seems they can't make something happen. This is exiting turn 7 and up and over the rise. Off for a moment, James is going to run over the 720 of Winkler entering turn 6. James has been getting aggressive here, and he's going to get aggressive again down the inside of 9. James trying to regain lost ground. He started way up in 6th, and now running back in the 9th position. The 217 not going to be satisfied with that at all as he looks for the inside of 11. Tracks back out for turn 12. Across the start-finish jump. Oh, too much curve there for James. That's going to push him wide at the exit of turn 1. And again, that will cause him to lose out big time as Sean Winkler up the road. Looking still throughout the field and part of the top 3 or 4 battle here. Nathan Medixson and Taylor Vanderbush about the same distance for 11th and 12th, while up the road, the top 3 still run Linus Stern as well. Again, it's been a very thrilling start to this race. Things kind of settle down once you reach that halfway point, and we settle in for the long haul. 3 laps to go this time around. Josh Edmondson still leading the way from Swain, but not nearly as much as we saw your fixed class leaders leading near the end of that race, as we got 3 laps left to go. Does Keaton Swain have a pace to try to run down Josh Edmondson? Only can take again one mistake from that 58 truck, and Swain's going to be all over him. Like the dirt on the mud flaps of these Lucas Oil Off-Road Pro 2 trucks. Don't forget as well, Connor Berry still hanging around that third spot. We'll be trying to see if he can't find anything for these trucks towards the end of the race here. 2 to go this time by. And Swain continue to try to reel in the gap. It's under half a second. We take 2 to go. Saw Keaton Swain almost get a bit unsettled over the turn 5-6 jump that time through. Across the whoop, still trying to find whatever time he can muster to get up and around race leader Josh Evanson, who has so far led every lap from the drop of the green flag. The way it's looking right now, Evanson's going to be starting third. And your second moto tonight and our final race of the night as well. Taking it up and over the grassy berm on the right-hand side as we'll take the final lap. One lap left to go. There's other battles at play as well besides one with the race lead. Sean Winkler's lost time to Anthony Janes, and Janes looking like he wants to make moves as well, further up for spots just inside the top 10, while the fight for the lead starting to spread out over turn 5 for the final time in your opening race in your open class. Through the starting zone, Josh Edmondson continues to lead the way. If Swain's going to make something happen, it's got to be in the turn 9 here. Tries to send it in. It's not going to happen, though. Connor Berry tried to make the look for second. Again, wasn't close enough. Out of turn 10, Josh Edmondson's been doing a phenomenal job all night long thus far. Oh, but he's got a slowdown penalty! A slowdown penalty for Josh Evanson. Gives it up to Keaton Swain right at the line. And Swain steals the win out of turn 12. As a slowdown penalty costs Josh Edmondson. Not even that, he ran out of fuel, he says. Out of fuel for Josh Edmondson. Costs him a race win in what ends up being a last corner finish. As the last of the drivers cycle across the start-finish line. Heartbreak for Josh Edmondson in the opening race. He'll now start third in your second race tonight. How does that even happen? I never heard of trucks running out of fuel in races like this. Keaton Swain takes the race win by half a second over Connor Berry. Josh Edmondson out of fuel. Finishes way back in third. Christopher Plumley will pick up fourth with Jacob Rufos back in fifth. Greg Johns was down to sixth with Zachary Drapkin in seventh. Sean Winkler was eighth. Anthony James was ninth, and Tyson Miller will round out the top 10. Taylor Vanderbush was back in 11th spot, 20 seconds out, with Paul Mikulajczyk back in 12th. Nathan Matuxen back in 13th, with Daniel Asian 14th, Nick Nowak in 15th. James Burke and Mike Budzian not finishing this race. Budzian was out on the opening lap of the race after he had some that major crash over in turn number 2 and went up and over. This is on board Josh Edmondson, and listen in. Yeah, right there, the truck kind of sputters and You're going to watch as Swain and Barry both get around him around the outside of turn 12. Man, that's tough to watch, as all you can do in that situation is just hope for the best. Warm-up underway for our second heat race, or second moto, I should say, of the night. And what will be the final moto of the opening round of the Racecraft Off-Road Pro 2 Championship. I'm at a loss. I've never seen a truck run out of fuel. These are sprint races, right? You'd think, surely not, but yeah, that's gonna get them out of fuel. The final corner, no less. It's one thing to run out a lap early. It's another altogether to have it happen out of the last corner when you had it in the bag. Swain couldn't get there for turn 9. Man, that's a rough break, and Edmonton will definitely be looking to bounce back. He'll be starting on pole for race 2, with the top 3 being inverted. Saw a lot of early race calamity, most notably down in turn 2 on our opening moto in your open class tonight. We'll see if that'll track over into our final race here of this event. Checkered flag flies on warm-up. Let's get a rundown of what your starting grid is going to look like for race number 2. As Josh Edmondson on pole position after running out of fuel in Moto 1. Connor Berry picks up second with Moto 1 winner Keaton Swain back in third. Christopher Plumley will be down at fourth with Jacob Rafos down in fifth. Greg Johnson will bring up sixth on road number 3. Row 4 holds Zachary Drapkin and Sean Winkler down in 7th and 8th. The top 10 rounded out on row 5 by Anthony James and Tyson Miller. Taylor Vanderbush and Paul Mikolajczyk back on row number 6. Row 7 holds Nathan Batuxon and Daniel Aish with Nick Nowak. You want to say Kowak for some reason. Nick Nowak in 15th, and James Burke down to 16th. Mike Budzian down to 17th. Of course, Burke and Budzian both not finishing Moto 1 after they both blew up, one of them by flipping over in turn 2 on our opening moto. Once again, we're happy that you joined us here on Racecraft TV for what's been an insane night of racing so far. Get set to close it all out for Moto number 2. Josh Evanson going to lead us around the final corner before we get to the start zone between turns 7 and 8. Pace truck is in, the field stacks up. Edmonton's on the loud pedal, we're underway. Connor Berry talks the line for second, gets in between himself and Swain. Here comes Plumley around the outside, trying to make the move. 3 wide again. The field sandwiching down through turn 9 and out through 10. Second verse, same as the first. It's single file with the top 5, while 2 and 3 wide for spots all the way down throughout this field. Edmondson officially starts Moto number 2. But we've got a whole lot of calamity behind, and one truck hard into the wall. That was Batuxon that just drilled the turn 1 fence on the inside wall. Up front, more trouble as Greg Johnson way off the circuit in turn 2, rejoining right in front of the likes of Sean Winkler. Winkler goes up and over the berm. He'll try to get himself back sort of the exit of 3. Again, another very hectic opening run as he's now side by side with Mike Budzian. Budzian flipped over in turn 2. He's already made it further than he did in Moto 1. As Budzian tries to go over the inside into 6, not going to happen. Towards the front of the field, Zachary Drapkin under fire by Anthony James. Finding it out for 6th and 7th. We rocket down to turn number 9 and get set to round out our first opening lap of the second heat. And how about this for Keaton Swain, side by side with Plumley, as Plumley got around him into turn 10 when Swain got loose. Plumley secures third across the start-finish jump through turn 1. Swain trying to battle back though, and almost gets into the back bumper as he slams down on the exit 1, sends it for the inside of 2. On the inside of the Legion Speed Sports Factory Sim Sport number 36, Swain's back through to a podium. And right behind, Jacob Rafos trying to find a way through as well. Rafos finished 5th in Moto 1. He's not content to finish 5th in Moto 2. He wants to be further up this field. He tries to look for a way to get around Plumley and bump him back down to the bubble spot of the top 5. Plumley getting to get alongside with Keaton Swain here around turn 7 and over the starting jump. Through the kink at turn 8. Swain's got the inside for 9. But look at Plumley able to hang that truck around the outside, but not enough to get the momentum going. Rafos bumped wide in 10. But use the momentum from that outside line to be able to track right back to the rear end of Christopher Plumley. The top 2 have been breaking away so far. Rafos still trying to run down Plumley a bit further down in the background. Rafos for the Hail Mary to the inside of 2. Contact pushes Plumley wide. And they're going to be side by side across the smaller jumps down to turns 4 and 5. Oh, watch the right side of the track as Plumley forced to bail out. It's not going to stop Plumley though from trying to make a move to get to the inside of the 13. I might get him here in turn 7. Contact once, twice. Will it be 3 for 3? It will not, as Plumley gets again side by side with their foes down to turn 9. Both of them in contact again. Rafos able to hang on to 4th, and here comes Zachary Drapkin now. Want to throw his hat into the ring through turn 10. An aggressive jump to the inside from Plumley. Doesn't go anywhere. Back across the start-finish jump. Plumley continues to hang on now for a 5th spot and trying to hang on to 5th. With Zachary Drapkin all over him. Trying to find a way to get through. We've had contact and trouble in the back as Sean Winkler, I think, has collided with James Burke and I think sent the 7 fully around. And that's why we see now James Burke well and truly down the field and Sean Winkler a couple spots back as well. We stick with this fight for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Drapkin's been doing a great job on keeping that 56 truck in shape and keeping Plumley honest in the number 36 here. And smoke pluming out of James Burke's machines over the second moto in the night. James Burke looking like he is not going to be able to finish this race. Now the question is, what happened to cause Burke's troubles? Last time around it was contact in turn 2. I don't think it was that case this time around as Burke will limp to pit road. Taking a look at the Racecraft replay. This is coming up and around, I believe, turn 10. So this is a ways back. See what ended up transpiring here. I think this is actually what started all this, man. So yeah, this was the initial contact. Saw him get up on his side, courtesy of Sean Winkler, but no smoke or damage there. This was later on that next lap, and this is what, I think this is what happened here. We'll get a look here. Oh, too much curve, gets it on the left. Oh, and he's nailed one of the, kind of the metal girders there that holds up signage over the turn 5 and 6 jump. That's a new one. That's what gives Burke all that damage and going to find himself down in pit road and out of this race for the second time tonight. We're looking at Connor Berry at the moment, trying to close out the Josh Edmondson. 6/10 at the moment separating the top two. Side-by-side battles are so far a bit more difficult to come by in this second moto. We've had a lot of them in the opening 5 laps, but again, once we reach that halfway point, it's almost like something falls over this field as a sense of foreign sensibility tends to sweep in, and all of a sudden, everybody doesn't seem so intent to want to get side-by-side with one another as everybody takes a more conservative approach. And I'd imagine the same would be for Josh Evans, considering he ran out of fuel in the opening moto. I would hope that he's put more fuel into that truck for the second moto here, or at least that he's saving a bit of fuel then when he can. Edmondson continues to lead the way. Barry runs second. We'll look back to James and Drapkin. Fight for 6th and 7th. About to maybe get side by side here through turn 7. No, not quite. 56 able to pull the outside line. Couple tenths up the road, you've still got Christopher Plumley as well, really pressuring the back of Jacob Rafos. Number 13 still hanging on for 4th place, while Plumley tries to catch up to him in 5th. Got a lot of side-by-side battling going on just outside the top 10. Sean Winkler and Paul Mikolajczyk side-by-side up and over turn 12. Oh, and contact over the start-finish jump as Sean Winkler gets around him for 10th as Mikolajczyk back to the inside. He's not letting this go! On his side of the 177! Bullies the 720 wide in turn 2. The 145 of Nowak right into the fray as well. Thought for a moment we'd be getting a double barrel roll off of turn number 1. Sean Winkler forced to bail out as Nowak trying to look back to the inside of turn 6. That's the great thing of approaching racing. There's fights everywhere you see. Nowak gets in the back of Winkler. And Nowak will slow up to redress. Apologies over the radio for that one. Mike Budzian and Nathan Metoxen right behind them are right back into the fray. Got 4 trucks all under a blanket, fighting for some of the last spots up for grabs in the field. Around the outside from Metoxen to get around Mike Budzian at turn 10. Budzian drives wide, up and over! Big crash on Metoxian, and he's going to get hit as well by Tyson Miller. Metoxian gets back on his wheels, and he'll keep rolling after a wild ride. And the Muffin Man will continue to make his run. Wild crash over the whoops between turns 10 and 11. And somehow Metoxen able to keep going after that one. More trouble and contact. Rafos and Plumley getting into each other. They're angry and they're ready to fight. Drapkin just trying to survive this duel with 3 to go. Rafos just kind of watching all this in the wings here. As 4th, 5th, and 6th. These gloves have just been flung off. Oh, and more trouble! Again, all 4 get collected. Plumley spins it around. He'll rejoin, but back in 8th. Well, Drapkin trying to get back up to Anthony James, and Christopher Plumley comes over the radio with a little bit of a chuckle, saying, yep, I deserve that one. Drapkin trying to make the move on Anthony James. Jacob Rafos fending them off for 4th. 2 to go. Back over the 5-6 jump. Expect any moment for another Hail Mary to come out of one, if not both of these drivers. Anthony James looking to break around the number 13. Not going to be side by side though up to turn 8. Oh, bit of contact. James up over the berm. Drapkin sees the door open. He tries to bust it down. But instead, it'll slam shut right on the big toe. As we've begun the final lap from Bark River International Raceway. Josh Edmondson still trying to fend off a charging Connor Berry for the race lead as well. Does Edmondson have enough fuel this time around to hang on to a Moto win? Led every lap in Moto 1. Drop back to third after running out of fuel off the final corner. Bounce it across the whoops between 6 and down to 7. Conneberry loses time and 7 drops back to 6/10 down. Unless he can get him in turn 9, he's not going to be able to get there at all. And Josh Edmondson pulls clear of turn number 9, down through 10. What a wild race it has been for Josh Edmondson. If he could just keep it secure. Edmondson makes it to the line. This time he is a Moto winner. The fight for 4th, 5th, and 6th coming through turn number 11. Jacob Rafosto to be able to hang on. Drapkin not able to catch up to James. But we got a side-by-side fight for 10th and 11th. Mikolajczyk trying to fend off Sean Winkler for 10th. Winkler is going to throw it into turn 11. But again, no dice. Paul Mikolajczyk takes the top 10 in Moto 2. What a ride that we had coming to the end of this race as the 58 and the 2. Gonna give a little love tap down in the infield. We'll go to the official results after this one. What a wild, wild way to end out a night of off-road racing at the Bark River International Raceway. Josh Edmondson takes the race win over Connor Berry with Keaton Swain back in third. Jacob Foes, Anthony Jane, Zachary Drapkin had one heck of a fight for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Also involved in that was Christopher Plumley with Greg Johnson finishing in between all of them. Taylor Vanderbush will be back in 9th with Paul Mikolajczyk just hanging on in a fierce battle for 10th with Sean Winkler. Nick Nowak back in 12th with Tyson Miller in 13th. Nathan Metoxen back in 14th with Mike Budzian to round to the top 15. James Burke and Daniel Aish going to be the final 2 drivers not finishing this race tonight. What an insane night of race that we've just had. We'll finally get the chance to talk to some of the drivers at the end of this one. We'll bring up first Josh Edmondson, the race winner at the end of the night. It was first place in Moto 2, but of course the big headache comes from Moto number 1, where, as we heard, Josh, ran out of fuel out of the last corner. Why don't you walk us through kind of what goes through your mind when you hear that truck sputter?
Oh man, with 5 laps to go, I got the call from the spotter that I had 5 laps of fuel left, and it was a couple corners before the finish. So I tried to start saving the last few laps there to make it. Obviously, just didn't save enough. Just to err on my part. We did a different race that was 10 laps, same as this one, but there was a comp caution in the middle, and 9 laps made it for that. I used that setup, and it was wrong. So yeah, just a mistake on my part. 1 less gallon than I should have had.
I'm assuming then you put a little bit more fuel into that one for the second race then.
Yes, yeah, I put another gallon in for the second one so we could actually make it across the line. I caught that invert because I went back to third, so back to first, and was able to just kind of drive my own race again, which is nice. If you can put good laps down here, it's tough to pass. So, yeah, it was fun. I knew Keaton and Connor and Jacob and Plum would all be fast, and I'm happy to come away with at least one of the moto wins.
You mentioned, of course, that it's difficult to pass at a track like this as long as you put in those quick laps, but Connor Berry was not letting you breathe the whole race there. Were you ever worried that he might be able to catch you there in the dying laps?
Oh man, yeah, he had me sweating, and Keaton the first moto too. I mean, those guys are obviously really good, and yeah, just trying not to make mistakes and just looking at the relative in the spots I can, seeing that they were right there. yeah, it's all about running clean laps around those guys. They don't make many mistakes, so you can't either.
Obviously, you were the truck to beat here tonight in both motos in this one, as you led every single lap, bar the one where you ran out of fuel. Is it safe to say then that your sights are going to be set then on the championship in this one?
Oh, absolutely. That's the goal here is to win the championship. It's going to be tough again with the competition. This is one of my better tracks, so hopefully I can be this strong at the other tracks. I guess I'm just going to have to put in some work, though. It seems like some of these other guys have too, and there's a lot of people on pace, so it's going to be tough.
Well, we'll let you get back to celebrating. Congratulations on your second moto victory, and of course, first moto podium as well. We'll let you get back to it. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Nolan. I just got to give a quick shout out to you guys doing the broadcast, Zach Knowles for doing this fresh paint, and everybody on the Nitro Circus Sim Racing team, Pimax VR, Next Level Racing, Apex Gaming PCs. Thanks.
That was Josh Edmondson joining us up here tonight after a fantastic run in his opening race. We'll move on down to the second place finisher. It was runner-up in both motos tonight for Connor Berry. And, well, Connor, your car two, you start two in both heats. You finish two in both of them as well. So a night of twos then for you.
Yeah, it was a good one. I knew that our speed was going to be average because I'm not a big fan of here in these trucks, but I was definitely I'm excited that I was able to run in that spot, and I was trying to go for first inside the in the second one, but Josh was just good.
And of course, Josh, as was mentioned, it's very difficult to pass at a racetrack like this. Where do you think, though, there were some places where you were a little bit better than Josh, where you might have been able to make that move had you had just a little bit more time in this one?
I think the turn after the big jump, I think I could gain enough, like I could gain enough time there to get into the inside, and I think I could have, but I was not able to get there, so we had to settle.
And of course, it is, I believe, the Wild West Motorsports Park coming on up next week. And of course, that is a track with a lot of elevation change on it, but in a much more condensed space than we have here at Bark River. What's going to be your take as we get set to go racing for round number 2 next week?
I think it's going to be good. It's going to be trying to avoid all of the carnage, which is going to be hard. But I think if we can qualify good, and if we can start out front, I think we got a shot. I've won there before, so I think we can do it again. So it's just going to be about being smart there, and I think we can go and get it done.
Well, we wish you the best of luck out there. Thanks for joining us tonight, Connor. Congratulations on taking that second place in both motos tonight. We'll hopefully be talking to you again next week.
Thank you.
It's Connor Berry joining us up here from second place in both motos in your open class tonight. That'll move us on down to the final driver in this one. It is Keaton Swain joining us up in the broadcast booth. And, well, Keaton obviously was third place in the final moto in this one, but the big story, moto number 1. It was looking like it was going to be runner-up until Josh Edmondson runs out of fuel coming out of that final corner. What goes through your mind when you see something like that right in front of you?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what happened. I didn't think he had to slow down because it didn't look like he cut through the grass there, and then I heard him say he ran out of fuel. So we'll take it. We're slowly reeling him in there at the end, but I think he obviously would have had the win there, but we take those when we can get them.
Obviously, it was kind of a rough race overall, and it was a lot of rough battling on the racetrack as well. But for once, we mean rough in a good way, as it was one heck of a show that you guys put on in this one. What do you think were some of the traits that played into your advantage here to allow you to stay well ahead of the rest of the field?
We just got a good setup underneath us. It's fast, it's almost too fast. It's kind of a handful to hang on to for a majority of the race, but it's always fun racing against Connor and Josh. They're both fast, and they both race clean. So we kind of know each other race. We've been racing each other for a while now, so it's always fun to dice it up a little bit with them. But second race there, I just couple too many mistakes and fell too far back. So I think we'll still have the points lead with qualifying coming out of here. So I can't complain too much about that.
Of course, Wild West Motorsports Park coming on up next week, and it's a very unique track, a lot more condensed space than we have here at Bark River, but of course that massive uphill towards turn number 1 before you dive right back down for another hairpin in turn 2. That's going to no doubt be a big spot for a lot of drivers to make moves next week. What's going to be the strategy to see if you can potentially stay out in front and keep out of all the carnage?
Definitely gonna the strategy is gonna be keep it on all fours on that first lap. Those first 2 turns can stack up pretty easily. So if we can just keep her going in the right direction, first couple laps, and then sort it out from there. But definitely say that's my worst track in these. So we'll put in some work here and see if we can get better and give these guys a run for their money. We just want to be on the box every race and have a good shot at the championship at the end.
Well, we will wish you the best of luck then next week as we'll get set to go racing for race number 2. Thanks for joining us, Keaton. Congratulations on the 3rd and the win.
Thank you. I just got to thank Factory Sim Sport, Appliance Parts Company, Sim Coaches, everyone that helps out Josh's league, and you guys for doing the broadcast.
As Keaton Swain joining us up here in the broadcast booth, that's going to do it for our podium finishers. And I have to say, again, an absolutely incredible race that we had tonight. Next week, it is going to be the Wild West Motorsports Park. We get set to go racing for round number 2. We're hoping that Evan Basoko will be out to bring you all the action for that second race. But for now, for Racecraft TV, it's about time to bring things to a close. Thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Minimal Wemple. You've been watching the Racecraft Off-Road Pro 2 Championship. We'll see you all same time next week. I'm Minimal Wemple.